Beware, this crypto video contains coarse words such as inflation, printing money out of nothing, and Ponzi. If you're anything like me, this is probably your third or fourth video you watched about Olympus DAO and OHM forks, and I'm making this video in hopes that you will finally understand at last how 80,000% APY gains are possible. But I assume the reason you've seen so many of these videos is because the video maker didn't want to make their videos less PG by saying these aforementioned shall not be mentioned words. So I'm gonna say it again. Inflation, printing money out of nothing, and Ponzi. So Olympus DAO and OHM forks have been the hardest concept I've ever had to learn in regards to crypto. What this category of coin is called is a rebase token, and it's named and applies to OHM and all its forks such as Time Wonderland, SQUID DAO, Klima DAO, and JADE protocol. There are many things to understand about this coin, but to make the information more digestible, let's talk about what piqued your interest in the first place, the absurdly high gains. How can a DeFi protocol offer this and not be a Ponzi scheme? Your caution is warranted, and if you had no sense of caution at all, you would have spent your life savings on a bag of magic beans a long time ago. So Olympus DAO is a protocol that generates revenue like a company, and it distributes this revenue to the stakers, the holders. So does the protocol run a cocaine smuggling operation or something? No, it just does what this guy does. So what's the secret to these massive gains? Printing money. So that's the secret to these massive gains, printing money? I feel as if no video explanation will say this outright to avoid making the protocol sound like a joke, because it is in fact brilliant. But in order to explain all the additional finer details, we need to start off with the most basic mechanism, which is the minting of new additional coins. How are these new tokens created? When someone exchanges one DAI, that's $1, for an equivalent amount of OHM tokens, this US dollar goes into the protocol's treasury, and it's added to its reserve. Technically, the OHM coin is backed by the coins in its treasury, which is a mix of DAI and Tether. And for other OHM forks on different networks, it'll be a mix of the native token plus a stablecoin. However, the amount of OHM that the protocol mints is disproportionate to the amount of value it has in its treasury. That's right, Olympus DAO makes money printer go brrr. So if someone puts in some DAI or Ether into the treasury, it mints some OHM tokens and distributes it to the stakers. Now there's two things you're probably thinking, and neither of them are good. So Olympus DAO prints tokens out of thin air, no different to what the Federal Reserve does. And two, funds from new buyers are distributed to old buyers, aka a Ponzi scheme. But now that you understand this much, you can now progress to the next layer of understanding. Rebase tokens generate revenue for stakers through new buyers depositing tokens of value to the treasury, like Ethereum or DAI, which gives the protocol the right to mint new tokens. Again, using OHM as an example, almost 90% of tokens are locked away in staking, and newly minted tokens made by the treasury are sent straight into people's staking wallet, giving them gradually increasing compound interest. Stakers receive these rewards every 8 hours, therefore the effect of compounding is increased every 8 hours, and if you calculate this rate over the course of the year, it's not a surprise that absurd numbers like 50,000% APYs are possible. So people are lured in by greed to the point that they don't take profit, therefore new OHM tokens don't flood the market, causing the price to go up? Okay, so this is where I may have lost you. Even though there are more tokens in existence, the fact that these tokens don't reach the circulating supply causes these tokens not to interfere with the market's price. Understand that upwards of 90% of tokens are in staking, and all new tokens given out as rewards are added to people's stake, providing them with compounding interest. The reward is enough to tempt people into not selling all their tokens at once and dumping too many coins onto the market. But this isn't the only way the protocol controls supply. Protocol-owned liquidity is a concept where the protocol itself controls the supply of that coin. Unlike other coins that may exist on Uniswap, where the coin is supplied by self-interested yield farmers, the rebase tokens protocol owns 99% of its liquidity on those dexes. That means if you purchase OHM on Uniswap, for example, you're almost certainly purchasing it from their majority-owned liquidity pools. This ensures that profit-driven yield farmers don't one day get bored of their yield gains and dump a bunch of OHM on the market, causing the price to be volatile. Now, because the protocol entirely dominates the liquidity pools for trading OHMs such as OHM DAI and OHM WETH, they get massive fees, and the treasury once again gets its greedy hands on more US dollars and Ethereum to lock away in its treasury, which it in turn uses the opportunity to create more OHM and distribute it as rewards to all stakers. So by incentivizing stakers to never sell, and by monopolizing the economics of the coin, these rebasing tokens aim to cheat the laws of nature. So before I go into how I truly feel about all this, I want to further reflect on the absolute genius of the project. The stated goal of the Olympus DAO is to become the global crypto reserve currency. Now, of course, you're thinking that this is absurd, but you have to truly marvel at the genius in the madness, because there is a possibility that such a thing could be the future of DeFi and potentially change the world. So how? Well, despite providing absurd gains, these gains are not meant to last forever. As the market cap gets higher and higher, the rate of return becomes lower and lower. Yes, like a Ponzi. At the same time, when the price gets lower and lower, the rate of return gets higher and higher. So in the future, like 10 years from now, if Olympus DAO ever gets to a 2021 Bitcoin level market cap, then perhaps its rate of return may be stuck at something like 4%. And the coin is seen as something as a stable blue chip amongst cryptos. And if the price goes down, the APY will increase, incentivizing more people to come back in and stabilize the price. And vice versa. If the price increases, the APY will drop, and perhaps more people will leave the market, again creating this equilibrium. So this is something that could keep the price stable in the long run. And unlike the US dollar or even Bitcoin, these rebased tokens actually are backed by something. It's backed by the assets it has in its treasury. So for Olympus DAO, it's Ethereum and US dollars. But the boundaries are being extended further, with the kinds of things being able to go into a rebased token's treasury increasing as well. DAO, for instance, their aim is to have in their treasury carbon credits. It's not unimaginable that a rebased token in their treasury might have gold ETFs, stocks from all around the world, fiat currencies from all over the world. It might own NFTs, copyright patents, anything that can be bought and sold digitally, a protocol like this can own, and it can back up the rebased token it represents. I want to introduce another aspect to this whole scheme. You see, assuming the APY dwindles down as the market cap increases, what is it that's going to keep people interested in continuing to buy rebased tokens like OHM to fill the protocol's treasuries and subsequently provide rewards for its stakers? The incentive they use is something called bonding. You see, if you purchase OHM directly from the protocol itself, as opposed to on another DEX, the protocol will mint the OHM from scratch and give you a 5% discount compared to if you bought it at market price. But the catch is, you'll be paid your OHM in full in 5 days after the fact. This process is called bonding, or selling a bond. By luring people in with a discount, it lures people to get some cheap rebased token below market price. But at the same time, by making people wait 5 days to receive their token, it makes it more difficult for short-term investors to make a quick buck off some arbitrage. So it acts as a filter for loyalty, you could say. We give you a 5% discount, but we hope you stay with us to help pump the bags of previous holders whilst not dumping any of your own bags. The best word I can use to describe what these rebased tokens do is what I like to call Ponzi-nomics. Everything about what it does is like a Ponzi scheme. Feed off the new buyers in order to enrich the old buyers. But here's another way of putting it. Imagine if Bank of America, who also engages in fractional reserve banking, had no employees, no shareholders, no rent, no upkeep, and its only obligation was to make profits for the customers. The massive revenue it generates from all of its services would only be used to scale up the business and to reward people who provided capital to allow the business to exist in the first place. As someone who is new to the world of rebasing tokens, please don't consider me an expert. As I mentioned in my videos, it is my goal to help you make as much money as possible and ensure that you don't lose a single cent due to some bunk advice that I gave you. So I'm pleading with you, please be careful with this stuff. Now, with some of these OHM forks having the same market cap as Bitcoins below $10 million, and at the same time offering millions of percent in APY, and especially considering as most of these OHM forks aren't on the Ethereum blockchain and thus affords you cheaper gas fees, then it makes sense from a risk to reward level to just chuck a few pennies in. There's no need to get carried away. But with that being said, I've personally thrown in a couple of grand into these things, and I'm going to be your canary in the coal mine, and I'll let you know how it goes. So if I'm not making this video to necessarily recommend that you jump into this, why else would I make this video? Even if you don't take this as investment advice, which I suggest you don't, I want to educate you on the evolving tech of what is known as DeFi 2.0. Olympus DAO may soon be considered what Compound was to DeFi 1.0 back in the summer of 2020. What these new protocols offer is a solution to the problems found by traditional DeFi. You see, regular DeFi has a problem with securing the loyalty of yield farmers who provide liquidity to their protocols. So for one, yield farmers jump from coin to coin to chase better yields, and as a result, it can be difficult for these protocols to have a stable amount of liquidity for their pools. Secondly, the protocols don't own any of their liquidity. All they can do is rent their liquidity from farmers, and when they do this in perpetuity with no long-term solutions, the cost for acquiring capital is enormous. This is the reason I personally believe DeFi coins popular in 2020 are underperforming so much despite their dApps being widely used. The protocols simply aren't profitable, and the holders of the DAO tokens don't have that much to gain. And the last problem is that there's a scaling issue, because in order for DeFi to reach the next level, there needs to be more and better ways for value to be locked in crypto. People need a reason to leave their money in crypto, as opposed to simply just taking profits and pulling it out into fiat money. And DeFi has been a way in which people can get passive gains on their crypto holdings, and so it's allowed more money to be locked in. And as more money gets locked in, more opportunities become available, which in turn paves way for more money being locked in, etc., etc. And it's this symbiotic cycle that grows the cryptocurrency ecosystem. So finding ways to lock money into these protocols is key to growing the crypto economy, and Olympus DAO may be on the cutting edge of solving these problems. Instead of renting liquidity like DeFi 1.0, it outright buys it, massively reducing its cost of capital, which makes the protocol more profitable and in turn makes the participants more loyal due to the high rates of returns. So I suggest do your own research if you're interested in getting involved in these rebase tokens. I'm leaving a large list of Medium articles that you can read to help you get more well acquainted with this subject. And if you like this video, please subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.